Thank you, Peter, and I'm going to go right on and pass back to James Burke at Greenwich.
3 weeks after the rest of the international team. Pathfinders for this mission, though, were the Russians.
I think this is due to acceleration which is taking place in that transition region.
Well, it is certainly a very worthwhile experiment. Susan, thank you very much.
Back here at Avalon, my guests have been gleaning every single bit of information that they can that's been revealed from the pictures, and not only from the camera shots, from the other experiments that are gradually putting things together as Giotto gets nearer to Halley. I wonder, we didn't get you to wear a red hat. Perhaps we should have done, because of the way I was commenting on the Irish professor's red hat. But what I'd be interested in now is to know, Martina, what you make of what you've gleaned so far. Frank here thinks there might be enough to argue for 2 nuclei, and he hopes to see some white in amongst the grey of the nucleus if we see that. How far do you go?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I'm afraid I have to join the club too of those predicting a dark nucleus, because once the comet approaches the sun, it's been heated up, and the particles on the nucleus will be heated up as well, and then there is a kind of roasting process, certainly. And as far as my information goes, there is also oxygen present, so there might be oxidation processes. And when the comet goes around the sun and on its way back, all the stuff will be frozen down. So most probably there will be a dark nucleus. About the white dots, I think I leave it to Frank. And as far as 2 nuclei are concerned, I think we have to wait for the actual pictures coming in. So I'm not making a comment on that.
Thanks, Martina. Charles, we haven't heard, have you got a bid, as it were, for what, when Giotto does get as close as it's going to get, we're going to see?
Well, I think that the larger particles in the nuclei will be accumulating, and that the radiation for the sun will cause the ice to evaporate, and I think it will be rather a dull object.
Dave, Vega, the 2 Vegas have obviously done well, and Giotto, am I right, is doing better than perhaps you might have feared?
Well, it's a little early yet to say, but so far so good. It'll be when it gets in really close that the real problem with the dust will be coming about, but certainly everything's looking good so far, and as they mentioned there before, it seems to be coming in on the less active side of the comet nucleus, so the likelihood of damage is therefore lessened a little bit.
Frank, is there anything in there that particularly has surprised you of what you've seen so far?
No, it's a little early yet, because my sort of speculations are going to require a very close look. But I think it's coming more or less on cue, and in fact a great deal better than it could have done. We could have been sitting here now mourning the loss of a spacecraft. At least it's still going and healthy, and let's hope it remains so.
Can I come back to you on that, David? Is there a write-off time for Giotto? I mean, once they've pulled down all the information that's currently being received at Darmstadt and Greenwich and so on, do they then just say abandon it at a certain time?
Well, basically they'll keep communicating with it as long as the spacecraft is sending the information back. The main problem is not so much that the craft might be destroyed by the dust, but that it might be knocked askew. And if you knock the thing off alignment, then you'll lose your
Thanks,
lot.
David. We'll be back, but right now we're going to go back to Darmstadt.
And now,
when we hope to be looking, as it were, right inside it. But obviously some trouble with the messages, signals coming down from Giotto itself, and we're as puzzled here, more puzzled, I guess, here than they are in London and at the European Space Agency headquarters, about just what has caused Giotto to go offline, or whether in fact it may have been destroyed altogether. Anyway, there's something there for us to talk about, and I know, Frank Andrews, you've been pulling that beard for a while as you've looked at the pictures that we have had. You mentioned that you had a bit of a theory about something they were discussing, and that is that it appeared to have, from the pictures where they were available, one active and one passive side.
Yes, we've been told that the Vega spacecraft saw 2 nuclei, probably one main nucleus and a fragment from that main nucleus. This means that there should be a side that has a piece of raw ice, shall we say, unprotected ice. This I would expect to be perhaps more active, be producing more dust. The other side is likely to be encrusted with, I'll say rocky material, stuff that won't easily evaporate. and that I would expect to be the less active side. And we were also told that it was this side that should be pointing towards the Giotto probe as it went past. So that's probably what we've seen, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. So it's one side which is sort of sealed off, and the other which is raw and rather more open.
Yes, perhaps we could say one side's been cauterized, while the other side's been left raw and bleeding.
Makes sense, Martina?
Yes, I would say so. I wonder one thing. I was thinking about a manned space mission maybe in 76 years picking up bits and pieces from Giotto. I don't think whether that is possible as far as its orbit or whatever is concerned, but it would be quite interesting to see these out of date at that stage instruments.
So they look back at round. Yeah. Thanks, Martina. Well, we've got that satellite link again, so let's go back to James Burke.
A few seconds ago, there was no telemetry coming down.
Come yet, Halley did, or certainly it seems that way. And just before that, some of the pictures that it sent down at that point of closest approach to Halley's comet. Dave Maclennan, when first we lost, the signals began to go awry. They were talking about it taking an hour to get it back online. What would they have to do to put it back online?
Well, basically what would happen in a case like that is the antenna is off alignment. This little thing at the top of the spacecraft here is off alignment, and it's sort of swinging about the sky. And really it's a matter of luck, really, if they can just keep the antenna on Earth trained on it to try and capture that signal and send it a command, say, hey, look, stop, look this way. And use the onboard hydrazine thrusters to sort of steady the trajectory again and get it back online.
So by a process almost of trial and error, they are jiggling it in line.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of trial and error and good luck involved in trying to do something like this.
Yeah, sure, Dave. Well, it looks as if they managed to do that because still signals coming through from Giotto. Well, we're almost near the end of our Halley Live broadcast, but before we do wrap up, let's go down south to see what's been made of the pictures, the information, the excitement that we've had as we've followed Giotto, and see what they make of it with Peter Llewellyn.
Well, that last frame was obviously extremely spectacular, but the colour images, the false colour, does that give you a false impression of the structure of the nucleus?
Well, very much. You're plotting brightnesses expressed as colours, and you can't really see the grey details, which it would be seeing grey details, and that's what we want to see.
Was that the sort of detail you expected to see?
I'm not quite sure what I expected to see. I think right in the centre there, that white patch was probably the nucleus, right in the middle there. But until, as everybody else has said, until they have massaged the data, processed those pictures, and produced perhaps grey photographs, which bring out the right light level, then we won't really be able to make too much sense of the photographs.
Right. Pamela, you mentioned that there was some structure, some jetting in the material that had some implication for the spin of the nucleus.
Yes, we have been seeing jets coming from the nucleus in the pictures we've been taking over the last 2 or 3 weeks. And I think I could pick up something that looked a bit like what we've been seeing in the green area of that last picture.
Rod, your first reaction to that last picture?
Well, I would agree with Alan that we probably saw the nucleus right in the centre, but I don't really think that we're seeing any great detail. As I said, I didn't really expect that we were going to get right into the centre and see all this fracturing. What encourages me is that the spacecraft has survived. What I thought would happen is, as the spacecraft went offline, it would then be wide open to major impacts in areas which were not protected, and it has apparently survived. So that is good news.
Right. Well, obviously it's not the end of the line for Halley's Comet, and unlike those in the Northern Hemisphere, we'll still be able to see it for the next 6 weeks or so, and there's plenty of late nights yet. So back to the studio from our Mariama watch site.
Thank you very much, Peter, and your guests down there at the Halley Watch in South Canterbury. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the four of you, just to wrap up, what do you make, Martina, let's start with you, of what you've seen, what you've found out in the last couple of hours?
Well, for me, basically, it is really a once-in-a-lifetime experience, because coming from the Northern Hemisphere, I'm so fortunate to participate in here. And as far as these pictures goes, I think the last one we've seen will be real history. And although we might think at the moment that we have not yet made out much of the data, we've got a lot to process, and I think we've made a marvelous approach towards investigation of comets and the solar system so far.
Thank you, Martina. Well, Frank, Andrews, I don't know whether you've won or lost any money. Maybe that's something to be argued about over a long time. But an exciting couple of hours for you.
Yes, indeed. I'm a little disappointed we didn't see more detail, but I don't think we're going to know how much detail we're going to see until these pictures are very carefully massaged. And it might be interesting to mention that we're going to try some massaging this afternoon and see whether we can draw some more details out of these pictures for you this evening in the final program in this series.
Right, thank you very much indeed. Dave, as the aerospace expert here, you must have been pleased with what Giotto did.
Well, it's certainly been very exciting because it's the first time we've ever tried to do anything like this, but all along I've been saying to people, don't expect too much from these pictures at first. It might not be much to see in the raw pictures as we've seen them on TV today, and I think this has been the case. Looking at the pictures, it's very difficult to make out what we're seeing, but as Frank mentioned, there's going to be a lot more image processing done, and when the pictures are actually published in still form, I think that'll bring out a lot more of the detail.
Thank you. And Charles, finally, any comment about Halley as seen in '86?
Well, I think there's a good deal more happening in the nucleus than we realised. I noticed how irregular the outline is, and also there seemed to be a brown emanation, and that I think is significant, and I think an analysis will show you, show us a great deal more than we knew in the past.
Thank you all very much indeed for helping us to share and enjoy and understand this great scientific occasion. Lots of work for the four people around me now as they study in detail the pictures and the information that were sent down and are, we hope, still being sent down by Giotto. For the rest of us, as Peter Llewellyn mentioned, there are still 6 weeks in which we can have a look through our own eyes at Halley's Comet. There are lots of ways to do that. If you get in touch with your local observatory, they'll have details of the best places and the special arrangements that may have been made for viewing Halley. Do see it if you possibly can. There won't, as we've mentioned a few times, be another opportunity for 76 years, which is probably quite a good time, as we round off this programme, for us to pass greetings to the Halley watchers of the future, who may find that our programme today is of rather quaint and historic interest. We're proud, nonetheless, of the international cooperation that allowed us this first close look in 1986, and we're sure that you'll be doing a lot better in 2062. And that's it for now. If you'd like another look at the fruits of Giotto's expedition, we'll be on air tonight at 7:30 on TV2 with an hour's programme of Halley highlights. Goodbye.
Well, very good afternoon to you. I'm Mark Leishman, and certainly a fascinating couple of hours. I know I was expecting little snapshots or perhaps even better live action from the Comet itself, but it was a bit different what we did get, but judging by the excitement of the scientists there this afternoon, they really are intrigued by what is going on and the information they're going to glean from what we've seen over the last hour or so. It's been great, and don't forget to watch TV2 tonight at 7:30 for more on that one. Actually brings home really how far we've gone. The old gentleman Charles Michie, who mentioned that 76 years ago he got information from the Weekly News in Auckland. That was the only information he could glean, and nowadays of course we're sending space probes right into the heart of the comet itself. Well, coming up we've got The Young and the Restless